Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today we are actually talking about Twitter because Twitter is making it harder now to crowdsource IDing possible suspects of crimes and other things. And here's what's going on. And before I actually dive into this report, which is coming from the BBC that kind of sparked this, I simply want to say, and this is something I've said multiple times on both my video, podcast, and radio show, and that is cybersecurity is agnostic to politics. However, we are not immune from it. I don't care what your political preferences are, what you believe, all those kinds of things. I just want to get to the facts and offer my own analysis, and you can do the same as I lay this out. Now, this is coming from the BBC, and this is what they are reporting, but I think it's something interesting, and I think it warrants further discussion. This is what they're saying. Far-right groups are using Twitter's new private media policy to target anti-extremism accounts, and that's according to the activists that are running those accounts. Now, Twitter last week said that images or videos of private individuals shared without permission would be removed on request. Activists report, and you see where I'm going with this, that members of basically the far right, those that they are tracking, are using the policy to have accounts identifying them suspended. Now, Twitter said that a number of accounts were mistakenly suspended following a flood of, quote, coordinated and malicious reports. An introduction of the new rule last week is an extension of Twitter's policies to prohibit doxing. If you don't know what that is, it's simply publishing basically private information such as home addresses, those kinds of things without the person's consent. Now, Twitter said that it would also consider the context in which these images were posted. So, for example, exceptions would be made if the tweets were about, let's say, public figures, or if the media in question was captured during public gatherings such as protests or sporting events, things that would otherwise be televised. There you go. However, in the days following the introduction of this new policy, a group of far-right activists reportedly began urging their followers on services like Telegram and Gab, that's where a lot of them have moved off of Facebook and others because they're more private, et cetera, et cetera. It's basically niche to them. I've written an article on that and also about Trump's new Truth Social that will be coming out. But apparently, they've been urging the reporters on Telegram and Gab to file reports against anti-extremism accounts. Now, these accounts included those that are used to identify actually known neo-Nazis and white supremacists, monitor extremists, and then document the attendees of things like hate rallies. Now, the aim basically appeared to be to get these accounts suspended and have these personal photos removed. The Washington Post also reported that one user on the social media network Gab had claimed to have filed more than 50 reports to Twitter telling others, quote, it's time to stay on the offensive. And also Atlanta Antifa, or anti-fascists, basically they are one of the more prominent anti-fascist accounts on Twitter, tweeted last week that it had been reported for exposing the identity of a, quote, white student union organizer. It also added that Twitter locked it out of its account until it deleted the post. And quote, according to the statement, already neo-Nazis are using the new policy to attempt to shut down their critics. Twitter's policy is an attempt to shield white power and far-right organizers from public scrutiny. It is unacceptable, but unsurprising. Now, obviously, we are living in a very political time, a very politically divided time, I should say. We have extremism that is being permeated from both the far right and far left sides of the spectrum. Obviously, Twitter here is where I like to say historically is where civility has gone to die, and they've attempted to police these things by simply making sure that nobody's getting doxxed and all that kind of stuff. But at the same token, tracking extremism is something that we should be doing. Extremists of any ilk, of any political spectrum, of any religious ideology are the ones that tend to cause violence. They're the ones that tend to basically create crime and mayhem, essentially, in society. Again, I don't care what your politics are. Extremism on any side of the political or religious spectrum is a problem, no matter what society you live in. And so, by virtue of that, Twitter here is trying to police this, but it's being leveraged against them. And I think there has to be this understanding in the way that a lot of other platforms, like actually Facebook and Google, have started to basically create enclaves for things like journalists and reporting organizations that protect them from these kinds of threats, not just mitigation of denial of service attacks, but actually protect them as they are constantly under attack, whether it's by foreign intelligence agencies, nation state actors, extremists, whatever you have. Basically, basically bringing these things essentially into the light of day is most important, because extremism tends to die under public scrutiny because most people see this and are turned off by it. And so if these accounts are going away, it's going to be much harder for people to start understanding and IDing things. And I think about it in this way. Look at all of the work that has happened since the January 6th, basically attack on the Capitol here in the United States, where basically we've had a ton of people online sleuthing through videos, sleuthing through pictures and posts and all of that to identify those people that broke the law on that day. And they have been a huge help to the FBI, according to the actual FBI. Now, imagine if essentially those people could turn around and claim, well, an anti-doxing standard for essentially a crime that was being committed. Now, this obviously happened in public. This was a public demonstration. These would not fall under Twitter's guidelines, but we have to make sure that we are walking that balance, and we are looking at those lines as we are creating rules and standards for our online practices. Obviously, Twitter was not anticipating this. Otherwise, they probably would have written something about that or started identifying those sites like journalist accounts, all those kinds of things that are actively looking at these things and actually making it news, important news that I think all of us need to see. So again, I will say this till the cows come home. Cybersecurity is agnostic to politics, but we are definitely not immune from it. And I, once again, don't care what you believe. Those are the facts on the ground. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, and that is your news of the day. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP, and please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please stay private. Thanks, everyone.